Best behave. Hi everyone, I'm here at the Bible study. Happy Valentine's Day to you all. We're going to be reading Luke chapter 15 today, which consists of 3 parables. I love these parables. The parable of the lost sheep, the parable of the coin, and the parable of the lost son. I love the one about the lost sheep and the lost son. Those are my favorite parables. Now, they want us to read Luke 15:1, and it says, "Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear Jesus." You know, the elders, the teachers of the law, the Sadducees, the high priest, all of them are not going to like that. Let's get into it. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear him. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." Then Jesus told them this parable. Suppose one of you had 100 sheep and loses one of them. Does he not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me. I have found my lost sheep." I tell you that there in the same way there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who don't need to repent. Amen. Where's that part at? And this, I'll get to it in a minute. The last part of the parable of the lost coin I really want you to listen to. I'll read it twice. I want you to listen to it good because remember, I was telling you guys, if you wasn't saved, if you got saved, if you start knowing the Lord and you decide to get saved, and your name will be written in the Lamb's Book of Life as soon as you're saved, and the angels, like I told you, will be there rejoicing. They will be up there singing and dancing, be all happy because they're writing your name down. They know one day you'll be coming home, and you won't have to be sent down to the fiery pit with Satan. They'll know you'll be coming home. Okay, the parable of the lost coin. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Does she not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me. I have found my lost coin." In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing. Now listen to this part. This is the part. I have found my lost coin. In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. The angels are waiting. God is waiting. Jesus is waiting. They're ready to write your name down, and they will be rejoicing. Now lastly, the parable of the lost sheep, or the lost son, sorry. I really like this one. I can really understand this one as well. Yeah. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything." How sad is that? When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired men have food to spare, and here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. For him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate, for the son of mine was dead and now is alive again. He was lost and is found. So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. Your brother has come, he replied, and your father has killed the fattened calf because he was returned safe and sound. Because he has him back safe and sound. The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him, but he answered his father, Look, all these years I have been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders, yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. He's jealous because his brother's back and the way his father's treating him, and that they killed the fattened calf for him and his friends, but he never got to do that. My son, the father said, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But he had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And that is chapter 15 of Luke. Aren't those parables good? Don't you love those parables? I love those parables. Okay, now let me read the devotion that goes along with it. This one is by Cynthia Ruchti. I'm not sure how to say that. In the summer and fall, my favorite place to collect my thoughts, but more important, to listen to Jesus' whispers, is on my screened-in front porch. White wicker chairs that'll have to be collared. A morning breeze, tree-filtered, sun, a cup of strong tea, and my Bible. One morning, I settled in for an extended time of reading. Highlighter at the ready. I prepared to dive in to see what I needed to glean from Jesus' life and teaching that day. My highlighter and my thoughts planted themselves on the first word I read, all. Luke 15:1 says that all the tax collectors and sinners were gathering around Jesus to listen to him. Emphasis, mine. All of them, and their purpose to listen to Jesus, not to defend their actions or criticize Jesus. They didn't gather around Jesus to dispute his teaching or prove him wrong. They listened. By comparison, verse 2 of that chapter says the Pharisees and legal experts were grumbling. None of them were listening. They were too busy condemning him for the company he kept. That's right. How often do I miss the mark, grumbling instead of listening? How often have I been guilty of frowning over how generously Jesus loved when I should have been doing the same? So true, I think we all have. There's a lot of times we don't appreciate what we have, what God and Jesus has given us. So a lot of people wish they could always have more and more, that where they're at's not the best. They don't want to be there, but there's a lot of people that don't have what you have and they think you're rich. Like Sherm and I. We don't have much, but we sure appreciate what we have. It's nothing compared to our life before. Changed our whole life when they let us get out here in this apartment together in MacArthur. It changed our whole life. Whole life, because it was bad where we lived. Just the little things. And like a homeless person, they would think we were rich. People in other countries that are, poor, And they would think we were rich, you know, having all this stuff. An apartment and a phone and a TV and a bathroom, a bed. We need to appreciate more what we have instead of what we want or don't have. Okay, let's see what the homework is tonight. Who do you know who is far from where they need to be spiritually? That's a hard one because I know a lot of people in my family that don't believe at all. They make fun of me and Sherm because we do. I can't mention God to them or they're out, you know. Like I was trying to talk to him. I mentioned it to my sister. I mentioned Jesus or God to my sister, Melly, the other day because she's going through a lot of things. And I said, you know, it's God's will because the doctor said her mom wasn't going to make it a week. And I said, well, that's up to God. God takes people home when he says, not the doctor. I said, last time she was on life support or whatever, they took her off and they thought for sure she was going to die. For sure. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago. And she woke up and started eating and stuff. That was a miracle. And she's sick again now. And the doctor said she didn't have but a week or less to live. But, you know, I'm not sure. And that's up to God. It's up to God. So I know a lot of people like that. I have an appointment for coffee with a far from friend tomorrow. I intend to love as he did. So what are we supposed to do? Who do you know spiritually? Think about who you know that needs God in their life and think of ways you can try to talk to them about God without them like running away, you know, like my family does. As soon as I talk to God about my sister, she's like, I know, sis, I gotta go. Immediately always has to go. So I don't know. You just can't get through to some people. We've had so many tragedies in our family, and I thought for sure that was going to, you know, bring them to God, but no, it made them worse, really. Okay, well, I got the Circle of Kindness here. We're going to read 3 of these, and I have one for tomorrow, too, if we do one tomorrow. Okay, this one is by Kathy Tyrrell from Rhode Island. Wow. His thank you made my day. One Saturday, while grocery shopping, I stopped my cart in front of the frozen foods while searching for some sale items. An elderly man to my right seemed to be having some difficulty. "Excuse me," he said. "Could you get me that turkey dinner? It's so far in the back that I can't reach it." "Sure," I said, standing on my tippy toes. Reaching to the back of the freezer, after I handed the frozen dinner to him, he asked if I could get him another one, and I did. "Thank you," he said. "You're so kind. Not everyone is as helpful as you." That was nice to hear. It made my day, and helped him. Yeah, just the little things. Just the little things. This next one is by Patricia Rampellini, and she's from Texas. Okay. Her good deed is still very fondly remembered. Waiting in front of a donut shop for the bus to bring me to work one morning, I didn't feel very happy because I didn't have money for the coffee and donut I was craving. Before I knew it, along came a cheerful, sprightly woman. She handed me $2 bills and said, "Top of the morning to you." I stood in shock by her kindness for a few seconds before going inside the store and getting a coffee and delicious donut for breakfast. This was well over 50 years ago, and that tremendous good deed is still very, very fondly remembered. Do you see that? $2. Just walked up and gave somebody $2. And she needed it. I think God sent that person to her to give him the money. He helps us along, God does. Gave her the money and for the donut and stuff, and she still remembers it 50 years later. 50 years. That's what she remembers. Somebody giving her $2 so she could get her coffee and donut. Like I tell you guys, it's the little things. Sending somebody a bunch of flowers and all this stuff is nice. And, you know, they'll love it, but they're thinking, you know, I really wished you could have brought them, you know, brought them yourself so I could see you. Talk to you for a little bit. You know, with your kids and stuff like that when they're older. The last one is by Carol Stone, and she's from Georgia. It felt good to help calm her. I was sitting in the waiting room while my husband underwent radiation therapy. I noticed a lady beside me twisting her purse straps nervously. I asked if she was okay. She replied that this was her first day of radiation and she was really nervous. I told her that this was our third visit and that my husband's only complaint was that he felt more tired than usual. I told her I suspected it would be the same for her. I am so glad I sat here, she said. Your positive attitude really helped me to relax. It felt so good to be able to help calm her anxious spirit. Just the little things. See somebody doing that, you know they're nervous, messing around with their purse, you know they're nervous. Just her talking to her and telling her, basically, you know, what's going to happen with the radiation, like her husband's going through. Now, you know, it helped her a lot, helped her ease her fears. And it meant a lot, I'm sure, to that woman. All right, guys. Well, that was our Bible study for today. Our next Bible study will be in Jeremiah. And then we'll have 2 more, and we'll be done with this book. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and good night.